friend Khalil McLean. He's here with me today for the podcast. Would you like to tell them about yourself?
Yeah, sure. From Los Angeles, California. Been in Colorado for 7 years. Yeah, pretty much chill, lay back, roll with the punches. And I like to pour into my community and my friends and just, try to be as positive of a presence as I can be in other people's lives.
I say you're a pretty positive presence.
So,
very positive. I think we met Men of Integrity. We met during Men of Integrity small group, so it was really, really great experience. And, I think you've definitely spoken in my life a lot. So to start, right, what was one pivotal moment or decision that set you on the path of achieving your dreams, or the path that you're on today?
Man, that's
Big.
a good question. Well, because I feel like that's season dependent. Because it's weird, right? Like just in hindsight, when I look at it, there's a lot of things that have brought me to this present moment that were completely unexpected. Even like me joining the Army, that was very random. I got sent to Germany.
Sent to Germany right away?
Yeah, that was like my first, first duty station
overseas.
Out the gate. And then, fortunately, God blessed me with an opportunity I didn't even know would exist in my particular MOS, which was to crew on a CH-47 helicopters. So I got to fly all around Europe. And then my not so wise self, I could go back and I could just deliver a nice roundhouse.
Yeah.
But I rushed to come back stateside because I just wanted to see what the Army and flying was like back in the States. It doesn't really make sense. It made sense to me back then.
Okay.
And so out of all the places, I just thought Colorado mountains, it's got to be beautiful flying there. And
it is beautiful.
Yeah. And so I ended up coming out here and actually ended up going back to Germany after like 6 months because that unit went on rotation.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Then came back and went on deployment. And then, in that in-between time, I had, my kid. I had met his mom. Obviously, kind of operating outside the beautiful will of God, and
life is a journey. Life is a journey.
Son came to be, and pretty much got to a point where I was dealing with a lot. Like I said, I roll with a lot of punches. My Achilles heel happens to be like the romantic, emotional side of things.
Yeah.
And it's not so much anymore, right? Like I've received biblical guidance and just revelation from God and understanding what love actually is. But that's actually what, kind of brought me to the end of myself. And I started kind of diving into his word. I think there was like one day I just decided I hit my mom up. My mom she's a very fervent woman of God. Like she goes crazy. And I hit her up and I was like, Ma, I think I'm gonna start, getting into it, start diving. She's like, okay. And all I know is one day I had a Bible that I literally was gifted from a local thrift shop.
Okay.
It was, her name's Connie. Shout out to Connie.
Shout out to Connie.
She wouldn't even let me buy it. She gave it to me. And I went home and I just opened it up. And it actually opened up on Psalms 142 and Psalms 143. And I read Psalms 142 and I was like, it wasn't. And I read Psalms 143. That one was like, it hit deep.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I just literally read that till I couldn't anymore. I was reading it over and over. And then I laid down, and that was, I would say, like my first encounter with the Holy Spirit. Woke up hot. I was like, hot.
Well, listen, you was filled with the Holy Spirit, man. When it comes in, it comes in.
I was like, it was hot, and it was weird because it was almost like the Lord took me back to a place where I hadn't realized I had essentially sealed myself up emotionally.
Ooh, okay.
Because I had because life was solid. I'm like, bro, life is always good.
Yeah.
I'm never like nothing bad ever happens. I like encounter things and I'm like, I'm just super cool with it. When in actuality, I was operating at just like a surface level of an emotional experience.
Actually,
you know what I mean?
Super deep. Yeah, I felt that before. Yeah.
So he just like took me back to a place where he revealed to me when it happened, and I was just like, I know my body temp had to be like, I don't know, 99, 100. Like I was hot.
You was on that fever
and
trip.
and it was just like gushing, and like that's for me, like that was the pivotal moment where I'm like, you know what? Let me start to pursue this. And you know, when you start walking the walk, it's very ugly at first. You got the Bambi legs and all of that.
Listen, don't even know what to do.
It don't look good.
I'm still trying to get that fawn out of me, just walking through.
It don't look good, man. So, but yeah, that was like the pivotal moment where really just like that first encounter, and then I just started going through craziness that like it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
But the amount of peace that I had after, like literally, I dealt with identical situations. And so I have record of like, okay, this is how I dealt with it by myself. And this is how I dealt with it when I had the Lord, you know?
When you had God.
Yeah. And it's just been absolute blessing, bro. Yeah. Tons of peace, inexplicable. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So yeah, man.
Listen, I'm happy for the blessings. Life is such an interesting journey. Like where it's like,
bro,
I look back and I'm like, oh, I would slap. Like I was 25 and I was like, if I could slap my 18-year-old self, I would.
Yeah,
and I'm 20 now. I'm like, if I could slap my 25-year-old self, I would. It's just like looking back at the past is such an interesting journey. And it's like, dang, we have so many years left to go, and I don't know how the Lord's going to change us, change our hearts. Life experiences going to grow. It just is. I don't even know. I'm just ready for it. I'm just prepared. I'm buckled up. I'm buckled up. I don't even know what's gonna happen. I'm just. Listen, we ain't on a roller coaster. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we here. So next, what kind of daily habits or routines have been most crucial for your continued success in life?
Continued success in life.
Yeah.
So I will say a lot of them have become, they actually happened like very recently within the last month and a half, 2 months.
You got some new routines and stuff like that?
Yeah, shout out to my sis, Jacqueline. Really, it's more so introducing, I introduced a lot more structure.
Okay.
That rolling with the punches and going with the flow. It's good to have kind of like mentally, just being able to respond to adversity. But when it comes to operating on a day-to-day level, you definitely need structure. So one of the biggest things has been acquiring a planner.
Okay. Yeah, I just got a planner too as well. So right. writing in it daily is.
It blows my mind because there's even when I think back, there's kids in high school that had planners. You know what I mean? And I
used to have a planner in high school, and I'm like, why did I stop?
Bro, it was really a cheat code. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, what the heck? And a lot of times I think we give too much credit to our mental capacity. And man, I think back, I forgot so much, there's a lot of time that was lost. And so it's just allowed me to be a lot more efficient and effective with the use of my time.
And so with your planner, do you like time block, or how do you normally structure your planner out?
So really, honestly, it's more of a obligation tracker for me. Like I know people kind of, they're like 07 and 08
all the times. Yeah.
No, for me, it's just, it's really so I can have a tangible recording of just what I need to do. And then I understand or know what kind of time gaps I have that I can fill up. So that way I'm not like overbooking or, just overlooking things. Like, cause that's, bro, I used to be notorious for that. I'm sitting there.
Easy to do.
You're sitting there, you chilling, and you're just like, oh! And you like look, and it's already 45 minutes past. Yeah, like you're like, bro. So that's been huge. Secondly, has been budgeting. That's been really huge. I made I had a budget sheet that I had made from scratch, and Miss Alicia, she's at church, super dope. She had a Z group, and that kind of kickstarted that journey for me. And you want to talk about putting a mirror up in front of your face?
When Anthony O'Neill came and spoke at the church, like when he was talking about how like you need to know where every dollar goes and every penny goes, it was such a like an insight, because I'm like, dang, I really didn't know where my money was going, and then now I'm like, ooh, wait, $20 is a lot. You just can't like just be letting $20 go out, you know, all willy nilly every month just for no reason. So you gotta know where your dollars is being spent. So I definitely think budgeting is super important.
And that's really like, I think the two greatest things is just awareness of my time and my finances. And it's definitely put me on a different trajectory.
Okay.
I'm seeing immediate fruits, just more so on the management side of my own provisions, but I'm excited to see just long term
what happens.
What happens, man. Because it's, when I tell you the amount of grace, bro, the amount of grace, because I'm talking about functioning with like no savings for like emergency situations come up, bro, and
flat tire,
and like, but it would always work out, you know what I mean? And instead of me recognizing that as like, that's the next level of grace, bro. Like I'm talking about. Like, it's not just like, a couple $100s here. Like, one time it was like $1,300. Like, had to come
out of pocket.
And till this day, bro. Like, I'm like, I still don't know how that stuff was working out, bro. But it did. And so I'm so grateful. And so it's like I get to almost, I get to show the appreciation through just intentionally stewarding the provisions that he's given me. And it's like, all right, Lord, I thank you for all that time that you graced me with, where you kept me and you pulled me through situations. And
you're a good steward of
and
my
so
time
exactly,
and my finances,
so now,
so you can keep blessing me.
right. Because he's not gonna give you more than you can handle. And so I do want to be able to show him that I can handle. And I really just all of that. So
those are some good habits, routines to put in place. All right, so this is a retrospective, right? So looking back, what is one failure or challenge that ultimately turned out to be a blessing in disguise?
Bro,
You're like, okay. Which one to pick?
So actually, believe it or not, it's weird. It kind of falls in depending on how you look at it, it could be success or a fail. But it was actually during COVID season, bro.
Okay. COVID was rough for everybody.
So I was actually on deployment when COVID came around. And so before I actually went on deployment, right, I went to spend time with my kid and his mom. And because she was stationed somewhere else because she's in the Army as well. And while I was out there, bro, I got like dummy sick. Like, it was bad. It was
had that new COVID,
bro.
First time you had
fresh,
that fresh COVID,
fresh, like fresh on the scene, man. And I had ended up going to the ER because the kid's mom and my mom they kind of strong armed me, and I was just like, all right, you know what I mean. I was good with the man, man to man, and then they pulled out the double team. And I said, okay, let me just go ahead. So
you going to the hospital?
So I went and they did some tests, the typical stuff. And they're just like, yo, we don't know what this is.
You had that fresh, that December 2018.
It was fresh, bro. It was fresh. They're like, we don't know what it is. Just go home, make sure you're drinking fluids, and eating what you can. And then getting plenty of rest. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll do that. So fortunately, I got over it. When I finally deployed, when we were down there, they were doing a lot of testing. So if you went from one fob to the next, right? Like when you were leaving, tested. When you arrived, tested, right? Like it was a continuous testing.
You're not getting on here.
Bro. And unfortunately out there, I was like moving around from fob to fob, which was dope, right? It kept it new. It wasn't, a long drive experience. But yeah, so I realized I was testing positive for the antibodies, right? And so that was kind of like my telltale sign. I'm like, how I got antibodies? I ain't never got it. And then like the memory came back. I was like, oh
Oh, yeah, I listen. When I tell you, I remember when I was sick in December. That before they knew it was COVID, I was dog sick. I was like, how am I this sick?
Right, yeah.
And then everyone started to get COVID. I'm like, I ain't never gonna get COVID,
bro. Right? Like, cause you good, you good. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I was testing positive, and then when we were kind of on the backside of deployment, they started pushing out, the vaccines and whatnot. And like some of my spirit, bro, I wasn't really messing with it. And also, I was like, well, if I'm testing positive for the antibodies, why do I need to get it?
Well, you need to get it. You
right?
Got it, yeah.
So it's strongly suggested that we get it. But I was like, hey, I'm testing positive for the antibodies. Why do I need to get it? And my leadership was just like, they're pretty sensible. So they're like, yeah, why would you get it? I'm like, you're good. And then it went from strongly advised to
a requirement.
Well, it wasn't a requirement yet. What they started doing was, so they started leveraging our leave, right? And they called it this verbiage. It's quite the journey, bro. But the verbiage they would use is like they were incentivizing the vaccine by, right? But they were really leveraging your leave. So they were telling you when you got back, you wouldn't be able to take leave.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Full disclosure, we weren't supposed to take leave
anyway
before we left. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere for a minimum of 9 months for somebody else and me not seeing my family for what I did. You know what I mean? So I had already taken a risk. You know what I mean? I was willing to stand in front of anybody. I don't care how high the rank goes. Like, do what you got to do. But if you're going to tell me I can't see my family before you got it, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I'll look you in the eye and I take whatever consequence. So in my head, I'm like, I already did it once. You know what I mean? Like, when I get back, I do it again. And so we got back, and I pretty much did the same thing, you know what I mean? But they were pressing, bro. Like, it went from it, and it still wasn't even mandatory, but they pushed out a policy memo. That's a whole ordeal. I'm not even gonna. I'm like, because the verbiage was clearly you didn't have to get it, but they were preying on the ignorance of soldiers. Whole nother story. Leave it alone. But in that time, right, like I was remaining unvaccinated, and once again, they were kind of threatening people, you know, and just trying to strong arm folks into getting it. So I had re-enlisted while I was on deployment for for Hawaii.
Right?
Oh, for
like, Hawaii. So, okay, listen, he was going to the next place.
Bro, I was ready, dog. And when I had gotten back, well, I was supposed to leave deployment early so that way I could report. And I extended to stay for the deployment. There's this lieutenant, this first lieutenant there that kept telling me, bro, he was like, don't you do it, McLean. He's like, don't you leave. Do it. He was like, I'm telling you, if you do that, it's gonna screw. And I'm like, it's all good. Like, I can't leave my folks. You know, we out here getting mission done. He's like, don't you do it. And I did it, bro. And he looked at me. He just said, he's like, bro,
no Hawaii for you.
Bro, I got back. And I started clearing, right? Like, I had my clearing papers in hand, right? So I'm like, out. I think I cleared one spot, two spots, three spots.
Everywhere.
Bro, my phone rings. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Like, hey, I'm like, first sergeant, what's up? Like, he's like, where you at? Just clearing, you know what I mean? Doing the things so I can go to Hawaii. He said,
he said Hawaii?
He said, yeah, you could go ahead and stop that. I'm like, what you mean? You know what I mean? Like, in my head, I'm like, I already got the board shorts. You know what I mean? I got the sandals. Like, what go surfing. Like, what do you mean? And so, oh, bro, this is crazy. And so he's just like, yeah, there's a policy that just came out that unvaccinated personnel can't PCS.
They putting barriers on barriers.
Bro. So I couldn't leave Fort Carson, and I was just sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, because I re-enlisted for it, they allowed me to just continually to defer my report date. After about like 4 months of deferring it, bro, I was just like, you know what? I was like, I'm good. Just go ahead and cancel the orders, just right? Cancel it. So they canceled the orders, right? So I was like, and in hindsight, it's not an L, right? But in that moment, I'm like, that's an L, right? Yeah.
Hawaii?
Bro. Yeah. So then that happened, and then I ended up going to, where did I go? Oh, so I ended up applying to go to do some soupy stuff.
Okay.
I can talk about
it. Yeah.
But yeah.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, right. And so I had received an assessment date, and I had it had hit me. I'm like, hey, yo, I'm like, I know they're like kind of a separate entity, but not really.
Yeah, they got the
But I was like, yeah, you know, so I was like, I'm like, let me call. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have called. I should just full sent it because I had the assessment and all that. But I was like, let me just see.
Listen,
and so like,
over,
yeah, you know what I mean? Probably. And I called him and I'm just like, yo, I was just curious as to whether or not the vaccine is mandatory for me to go do this assessment. And he's like, that's a good question. Like, because they're probably like, they're like, because they probably not even tripping on it. But so he hangs up, he calls back like 5 minutes later and he's like, yeah. And mind you, that application process is like long. Right?
Yeah,
like
long.
Kind of probably similar to what you had. You know what I mean? So it was a minute. So I'm like, cool. I finally got all that done.
Got it done. Listen.
So like I called and so yeah, he's like, yeah, let me get back to you. And he calls back and he's like, yeah, man. I said, dang.
I said, dang. I like that tone, bro.
So he's like, yeah, man, bro. He's like, he's like, we're not really requiring it, but due to the amount of travel that like really just this mission set is going to require is like that would be a limiting factor. And so at that point, I would be a pretty limit. I wouldn't be as much of an asset as I would be, especially with how much they would be investing. You know, it's always about the money and the time.
Listen, it's a lot. It's a lot to train on.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just like, all right, well, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's it. So I was like, dang, bro. I was like, I know Hawaii, right? I can't go do this thing where, like, I knew it was gonna be dope, bro. I knew it was gonna be dope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. So at this time, right, in the background, I had submitted a religious exemption request, right? So like people are always like, how are you still in the Army? You're not vaccinated, right? Like that's what it was, right? And so that literally took like 9 months to come back, and then I submitted an appeal because I was like, it's a time, right? Yeah. I was like, once they meet their numbers, I was like, I told people, I was like, it's gonna blow off in the wind.
Yeah.
Still here.
Still here
without the vaccine. You know what I mean?
Right.
So continuing on, I'm like, all right, cool. No Hawaii, right? I couldn't do this. So I'm kind of feeling down. I'm like, bruh, like the Army done already pissed me off, like twice. And I'm just like, bro, I'm good. And so I actually started to get out of the Army. I was going to do a family care plan chapter because I had my son at the time. Okay. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll just do that. It's like 90 days to get out. You know what I mean?
It's not too bad.
Like it's swift. And I was like doing the whole 9, bro. Like job interviews, like I was getting ready. So the plan is I was going to go up to Washington because that's where his like mom was at. So I was like, cool, move up there, because at that point I'm not bound by the Army. So I can move. So in that time where I'm transitioning out, I had gone to the gym with a friend. We were doing, what is it, adductors, the machine.
The machine.
And we don't really usually do that one. No. And so me and my homie, like we did it as a joke at the end of a workout, right?
We're like, all right, let's sit in chair and just go.
So it like it was super tight after the gym, right? So at the time, I was cold with my pistol squats. Like that was like one thing where I'm like, pistol squat, I'm knocking them out whatever we're doing. Weighted, I get crazy with it. And so we got home and I was in the routine of just like, I'll just bust out a pistol squat because I just wanted to keep the muscle memory. And, so I went to do a pistol squat on the left side and my knee kept creeping in. It usually didn't do that, right? But that was the night that I had done, right? And so those muscles were tight, so I pulling. And instead of feeling that like it just felt weird, instead of actually listening to my body and being like, that don't feel right, I went down, I decided to push through, bro. I went to push up and I just heard pop, pop, and I just dropped. I was like on the floor, bro. No. Mind you, this is like me mid-transition.
Yeah, mid-transition out of the military.
So I'm like, bruh. So like, I don't know how I knew, but I just told my bro, I'm like, bro, I need you to come and like pull my leg. Like, you're gonna be resetting my knee. Like, so he went, pulled it, and sure enough, something popped in. I was like, okay, cool, and I was able to stand up.
Yeah, the whole kneecap.
Bro. So I was able to like, bro, I went out, played like some basketball games. I was like doing, so it was weird because I was still mobile. Coming to find out, I had like blew my cartilage out. Okay. So that's what happened. I was like, I blew my cartilage out. And so I ended up getting surgery, which is crazy because you actually need your commander's approval to get the surgery, and somehow like I bypassed. That's what I'm saying.
Like the Lord, they just gave you the surgery. Like, listen, sometimes you just got to do it,
right? So I went, did the surgery, and so because they can't just like boot you
correct
while you're in recovery, right? Like you need to be in a pretty sound medical state. Yeah. And I was like, still, and I'm like, bro, I can't leave this, bro. I could not leave the Springs, bro.
You are here in the Springs for a purpose,
bro. Legit. And so, like, that's why now when people are like, oh, when you're getting out, are you going home? I'm like, nope, I'm supposed to be here, bro. Like, I tried, bro. And so those were all like, you know, in hindsight, I'm like, man, those are all W's, right? Because like it kept me where I was supposed to be and where I could walk in purpose. But like in the moments, man, I was just like, bro, this is L after L after L, dog. And I'm just like, this is crazy work. But yeah, so they worked out, you know, for my good, and just being like, I wouldn't have the same community, bro. Like even going to, you know, to Zeal and run into the people I have, being able to touch and pour into the people that I have, bro. Like, it's crazy. It's kind of wild. So I'm where I'm supposed to be. Obviously, it's clearly a dub. But yeah.
Listen, we appreciate you for sticking around, pouring into my life, pouring into everyone's life. See, listen. God kept you here. Listen, God kept you here, not me. Don't be mad at me.
You're stupid.
Okay. So I guess the next question is, how do you stay motivated and focused now that you've reached, you know, this level of success in your life?
So I actually don't think I'm not successful yet, right? Now everybody really like, I feel like that's the outward perception, right? Like everybody looks and they're like, he's got his stuff together. And like there's been times where I'm like, bro, the shit is burning down. You know what I mean? Like it's burning, yeah, like they see me up in the pigeonhole, you know what I mean? Up top, and like I've got like the camera on, I'm sitting there with the telescope, but like the fire on the day is just going crazy, bro. Everything's burning. So I'm like,
just
no,
zoomed
man.
out just a little bit.
Just zoom
out just a little bit. You see the whole picture.
So right now, man, like I'm being successful at setting a foundation. Which is where I will say my success is lying. I've gotten super comfortable, bro, with being with like not knowing, because even now I've been blessed to know the direction that God's calling me, you know, because I've been in aviation for, it's about to be 10 years. And I'm like walking away from that industry. You know what I mean?
That whole industry. And aviation's a lucrative industry. Those skills is good skills to have, you know?
Yeah. And like that's the other part too, is like, you know, the connections. Really just all the
pilots and stuff like that. Yeah.
Bro. So yeah, I think I'm being successful in laying a foundation to be successful, and then also just trusting in God, bro. Like it used to be scary, and now like you said, the journey of life, like looking forward to it. Like I get excited, and I'm like, Lord, I don't know what you finna do, but like you already went crazy with the little stuff. You know what I mean?
Waiting for the big stuff. Listen, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I feel nervous. Sometimes, you know, and I definitely be praying, but I'm like. Because there's so much possibility, like anything could happen, and to know that anything could happen within the next year is a little scary. But to be reassured, I know God has me, but like I'm a planner. Like I'm a person who likes to have a 5-year plan and have it set or know where I'm pointing at. I'm just kind of like as I grow in my spirit, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna throw this out there and see. I'm gonna try to swim.
Bro.
Look back at shore to God.
Yeah, he's so like, and I ain't gonna hold you. Like the one thing I lean on is I forget where specifically, but there's a point where like God, right? He's looking for something to swear on, and there's nothing higher for him to swear on. So he swears on himself, like his own name. Yeah. Right. And so like for me, that's kind of my reassurance where I'm like, God, like he cares about his name, you know what I mean? Like in his word. And so that's one of the things is where I'm just like, okay, Lord, like if you say that you have like you really are gonna keep those who are obeying your will and walking just in the path that you lay before them, then like I got to. And I love using Abram. Like that's another reference I use for myself, because like right now when people are like, oh, what does it look like? What are you gonna? I'm like, bruh, I don't know. He gave me the direction, you know, and I'm just trying to make sure I don't bring people that I'm not supposed to bring with me that delays it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's where Abraham messed up with Lot, and then. Really just like using the biblical the biblical events to just show you how to navigate certain seasons, and so it's just I've just been vigilant and just trying to be successful in preparation so that way I'm good to go, man. So I don't have it all together, and I think walking in that humility and that meekness is what allows me to be so calm and chill about it. You know what I mean? Because it's like
it's not you, it's him. Like that's the aspect that like, a lot of people miss. It's like I couldn't do this on my own. You couldn't do this on my own.
And I'm like, I tried it, bro. You know what I mean? I'm like legit. I'm like the amount of stress, anxiety I was dealing, bro. Literally right before I I'm like he let me see and experience what it was like. Like he's like, like this is you when you got it, like and I was like, I just remember, I'm like, bro, I was stressing. There was a million decisions that like, and I couldn't choose one, and I'm just like, bro. And as soon as I was like, you got it, the weight that, bro, I'm like, I'm not going back to that. I don't care. Somebody's like, oh, you don't know? I don't know. I'm cool with it, bro. I'm cool with it. You ain't even got a trip. So yeah, man.
Okay. I feel that. All right. So last question before we wrap up on your part. All right, we have kids and everything like that. So what legacy do you hope to leave behind, and how does your success contribute to that vision?
Man, to be honest, it's most of it isn't material. I think a majority of it are the intangibles.
Okay.
I'm currently learning how to walk with the Lord, so that way my son can he can learn, right? And I can teach him, he can know, right? Because, right, like our ceiling is going to be their floor, right?
Correct.
And so I'm trying to get as far as I can, especially in that, and just trusting that, hey, as long as God remains the center of my lineage, my genealogy, like as long as he remains the center, I'm like, we're going to be good. We're going to be taken care of. And just the amount of inherent wisdom that comes with just seeking him and seeking to understand him and his ways. It's, bro, like you can't fail. And that for me has been like, that's what I want to leave. That's the legacy, is really just a God-centered, God-founded legacy, and trusting that he's going to take care of the rest. So yeah.
Okay. I like that. All right. So this next part is, do you have any questions for me?
I do.
Oh gosh.
I do. It's funny that you ask.
It's funny that you ask.
I'll keep it to 3.
Okay, keep it to 3.
I got you. So I think the first, when I say question, it's more so personal curiosity. For you, what would you say has been really the motive? Because I know you're kind of on the backside of like your transition, right? I would say from like where you were before into, hey, I'm really just submitting myself. What would you say is like the motive that one pushed you through that transitional phase, and what is the newfound motive, because it changes, that's going to propel you into your walk?
Ooh, so the original motive, I think, was just faith, to be honest with you. Like, so like I grew up in the church. Like I was president of FCA in my high school. So like I had a strong relationship with Christ, like growing up. And then like when I got to college, I had gotten relationships and I fell completely off the deep end. And so like I was Oz, who you know, he invited me for church for like 2 years straight. Was denying him, telling him I wasn't going to Zia. When I tell you he invited me for 2 years straight, it was 2 years straight.
Yo.
And then I was just like, no, I'm not really feeling it. Like I was church hurt.
Shout out to Oz,
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years of
What?
every time he see me, oh, what you doing? You want to come to Ben's group? You want to listen? It was he was on it.
Long suffering.
Correct. I was just like, nah, it's not me. It's not who I am anymore. Like, and then when I first came, I had saw like myself, and then I had looked in the mirror and I was like, dang, like that's who I used to be. And I was like, I don't know if I could ever get back to that. I saw like a couple like young kids, like high school age kids go up. We were back in the old church before we had moved into the mall. They had went up, and then they were praising worship. I was like, dang, like that's like such an innocent like praise and worship. Like you haven't been hit by life. I don't even want you to get hit by life. But I'm like, dang, like can I get back to that? Like can I get back to that Christian who I was, you know? And I was like, oh well, I don't know if I can, but I know if I come to church enough, something might happen. Something might happen. So I literally just got involved and just stayed in church, just stayed in as many Z groups as I could. Because I was like, hey, listen, the less I hang out with the people I used to hang out, the more I hang out with the people in church, the more I'm in church, the more, like, when I tell you my heart was so hard, like, I was just praying, like, hey, listen, Lord, soften my heart. Because, like, everything, like, either the pastor was saying or they would be saying in Men of Integrity, well, most of it I was rejecting. I was like, that I would have, like, questions or, like, rebuttals to it. And it was just, like, not really hearing. But I'm like, hey, listen, I know day by day it'll get better. It'll get better. And then but since then, it's gotten a lot better. Like, my heart is softened. It's a completely... I'm a completely different person than I am a year ago, right? Okay. And so now it's that, okay, I know where I came from, I know where I am, and then I see where I could be, and I'm like, dang, like if I just continue to just love and then get filled with the Lord, like I don't know what He's gonna do in my life, I don't know what He's gonna do in me or through me. And then how much He's going to change me for my son, and things of that nature. So it's like the people in my life, like I have a heart. I just love people, around me, and so it's just like I can go back to what I used to do or who I used to be and or better in my mind, that kind of image, and that was an immature version of myself, and it's like, but now I have I want to have that love for Christ plus the life experience to say, hey, listen, like I've been around the block. I know, I can tell you, hey, listen, it was nice to stick my toe over there, but this is still so much better. It's so much better, So so that's where I think the motivation was, and then is now.
Okay. Okay. That's dope. I like that. All right, question T. So, and I'm gonna focus on the walk just because we haven't really.
You can ask me.
We haven't had like a sit down where we've actually discussed all this. So, concerning your walk, right? You have what kind of motivates you and keeps you within it. But on the flip side of that coin, what are some, proclivities, some like thought patterns, just any of those things that you feel kind of tug at you to possibly pull you off that path or have you deviate?
So for me, like two main things. The first thing is my discipline and like laziness. So like I have like ADHD, and I know that sometimes it's not an excuse, but it's the reality of life. So I get distracted pretty easily. So I have to, and I have an addictive personality too as well. I've never done drugs, but I like just with like
you
Oreos.
To the Lord.
Oreos, no, like no.
You get addicted to the
when
Lord.
I tell you like Oreos, like cheesecake, like I'll eat something from fast food, and then I'll want it for like 5 days. Like it's like my obsessive compulsive to those things. Like I just hyper focus on them.
Okay.
And so like I know that, and then so with me, a lot of things I have to do it cold. I have to cut things off cold turkey, and I can't go back to them, or it's gonna like spiral out of control. And then things that I do good, I have to continue to do. Okay. So with my walk, like that's something that I know. Like, hey, listen, like I have a proclivity. Like if I'm lazy one day, it might ruin my whole week of being lazy, of messing up my sleep schedule, of not reading my Bible. And then I look and it's like, oh dang, my streak done went away. I got to get back into it. And and then it's like I'm clawing back to get a reset, and so it's like, hey, listen, it's easier to stay fit than like, get fat and have to lose a bunch of weight. But that's with everything, especially like with the Lord too, and your walk too as well. It's easier to stay in your walk. Well, it's hard to stay in your walk, but it's easier to stay in your walk than to leave your walk and try to come back. So, and the second thing is like just like love. I love love. I'm a person who my heart gets swayed easy, so I just try to
shouldn't have brought that up.
Correct. Listen,
go ahead.
Listen, I try my
You just prepped me for
question three. Oh no,
keep
I'm
going.
running. So like I've always like in my past, right, said I've been married twice. I've had not the best luck in my relationships, not always done everything proper or the right way or in order, as they say. And so, I'm trying to change that aspect and do things better the next time. So change myself, grow and develop and not make the same mistakes that I have.
Okay. All right. Third one is it's a heavy hitter. It might turn into a dialogue.
Okay.
So question 3.
Okay.
Concerning love, right? If you had to explain it, describe it, define it, right? Just like break it down to somebody. How would you do that?
Ooh, okay, so that's kind of hard because I have the right answer and then I have my answer, right? Like when I think about it, right? Not necessarily like what I know is the right answer. Like when they're like, oh, what is love? Oh, easy definition. Love, God is love. God, or like going back to First Corinthians.
That's
correct. First Corinthians.
Yeah,
Correct. I know that's what in my mind I'm like, oh yeah, love is patient, love is kind, this and that. It doesn't keep count of wrongs. But in my mind, when I truly think of love is a choice, right? There is the emotional like lust or like physical attraction or mental attraction that you have with someone, but that not necessarily I don't think is love per se. It's a feeling in some aspects that contributes it, but love truly is a choice. Like you choose to love someone, you choose to care about someone, and then you're also making that, in my opinion, making that decision to hold them to a standard that is higher than other things. Like I love, Meat Lovers Pizza. That means I put Meat Lovers Pizza above all other pizza types, that I can pick from, and then people who know me know I love Meat Lovers Pizza. So they know if I were to order what I would pick. So, because that would be the choice that I would make because that's, my love or preference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, even within that context, do you believe that the love that you cultivate in your friendships is the same love that you would cultivate kind of in like your marriage?
I think so. So I used to not be the same, but I think my perspective has changed on that over the time. Because before it was like, hey, listen, like there's a separation of like partnership versus friends. Like I I used to in my past didn't consider my partner as my friend. Hey, listen, you're my partner. Like you're my teammate. Like we're going through life together. And you might not like me one day, but we together, we're locked in. But now I know it's like an extreme importance to also be your partner's best friend, also be their friend, like, cause you don't have to like the same things, but you do have to share common interests, and then the love that I have from my friends, like most of my friends, like I consider my family, I'll do the utmost for them, when they need me, I'm there to call, I try my best to handle it, like I meet people and they might be acquaintances. I don't call them my friend, but if I call them my friend, they're my family. So like that love for my family unit, like laying down my life for them, I think that translates also to relationships now, especially like with my partner. It's gonna be like, hey, listen, like we're friends, we can talk about anything, we can relax, on the couch, or we could go start a $1 million business together. Like we can do both, and it be okay, with it. So what about yourself?
Man,
Listen.
That's awesome. You grown, bro.
Look, I'm like trying to grow up one day.
Like legit. I'm like sitting here. I'm like, dang. I remember remember Chris, first met him. You know what I mean? So that's awesome, bro. I'm proud of you, dog.
Thank you. Listen, I'm trying.
I think and so I feel like there's a differentiation that has to happen. I feel like a lot of times we think that that like I've heard it said like, oh, you know, there's this like distorted version of love, and so coming back to that saying, right, the verse like God is love, and so there's like we don't ever say like there's a distorted or a wrong version of God, right? It's like God is God, right?
Yeah,
like
correct.
He's Elohim of Elohims. Like it's like either He is or He isn't, right?
He is.
And so that's why I like to first start off by differentiating the two, right? So you have love, and the word that I feel has more appropriately defined what we experience before we come to know actual love, you know, like godly love, is attachments. They really just turn into unhealthy attachments because, right, like whenever you think back to that toxic relationship or that relationship you couldn't get out of, right, it was almost like you couldn't step away, right? Like you'd be walking off, and like I know, like we when I crewed on helicopters, right, we called it the yo-yo.
Oh, really?
And so if you like, we had D-rings on the floor, right, that you'd hook into because you had we call it your monkey tail. And so if you're gonna run off the helicopter and you forgot to undo that, like you'd be like,
come right back.
But like that's what it feels like, you know, most times. And like there's just this tether, and it's typically because there is, it's an attachment because we're looking to receive, right? And love is an expression.
Yeah.
Everything about it is outward, right? Like even like we love Him because He first loved us, right? So you see first there's an initial expression, and then in return we express, right? And so that's really like the biggest thing when it comes to love, is understanding that it's like none of it is about you. And that's why in real love, the way that God could allow us to walk away and go serve all these other idols and, you know, these others' desires and wants, and He's still there waiting, right?
He just be loving
you, right? Like that's like there's not, like you said, it's a choice, right? There's not like an attachment in love. And I think as people come to understand what like love is, right? There's no distorted version of it. There's, right, like you first identify, okay, what have I been operating in? And then asking God, like, okay, I need you to reveal to me, like, what is love? And you can do that simply by just, like, you know, like reading your word and like watching how God, right, dealt with you. And I honestly, one of the ways I describe the Bible is like, it's literally the love story between God and man, right? Like, and like when you see it, it's such a, it's a painful but beautiful love story. And so, yeah, it's love is just that, man. Like it's an expression. And I think when you truly begin to grasp it, that's where you find that peace and you're able to walk around and shower others with it, right? Because you realize it's just an outpour, but then that also kind of brings you back to the importance of, right, like coming back to the Father, because like that's the best right example, yeah, right, and that's all you're doing is you're literally just reflecting your relationship with the Father to others, right? And like I know that's what I hope for in my marriage. Like correct. I'm like bruh.
Husband loves your wives like Jesus loves His church.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, listen, this is a representation of how Jesus loved. And,
So yeah, I'm like that's one thing I'm looking forward to is just being able to reflect that, and like that's all service. I'm like, bro, I don't ever want to require or demand, cause like even the love languages, right?
I'm just gonna give you them all.
Bro,
I'm gonna try my best.
But not even, bro. Like to be honest, right? Like there's like a little truth to them, but like when you really look at them, they're it was a dope revelation, man. So they're really just demands that we put on our partners due to unhealed trauma or wounds.
Yes,
right.
I can definitely say
right.
That.
And so when you're telling somebody like, you know, like this is how I receive, and the crazy part is you can go even deeper, because like if you ask somebody like, oh, what's your love language, right? You can identify their posture when it comes to being in a relationship based off of whether they tell you how they receive it or how they give it. right? So automatically you have like two categories of people.
Yeah.
Like, cause you'll see it's super weird.
So
like,
I give both. Like I'll say, hey, listen, this is how I typically receive it, and this is how I typically.
But if you go and you talk to most people, they'll give you one.
They'll
like,
give you one.
They'll give you one, right? And like
Okay.
you can immediately see like, okay, this is your mindset about it, right? Because they'll be like, well, I love quality time, so I need my partner, right? And you're like, whoa, like. Like, first off, like, you're like a few steps back, you know what I mean? Versus somebody that's like, hey, this is how I show it, right? But when somebody's talking about how they show it, right, they're at least postured in the correct mindset, where it's like they're about service, right? It's not about how I can take or receive from my partner.
Yeah.
It's about how I give most effectively, and that you can build on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I'm bad.
right.
Like gift giving, that's how I show my love.
Yeah,
like, hey,
yeah.
listen, I'm gonna buy you some flowers. I'm gonna try my best.
But like, even that, right? Like, it's just like, I think that's the importance of really just being intentional and understanding how God continues to show up for you, and like how He's shown His love, because then you're really like teaching yourself, right? Like, He's teaching you through a righteous example.
Makes sense.
So yeah, man. And I don't even remember what the second part you said for when you dove.
We went into the discussion.
Yeah,
that's good. That's healthy.
The friendships.
The friendships. Yeah.
So fortunately for me, bro, I've always done it. Like, there's a lot of stuff I've done, and it's just been innate, and I always thank the Lord for it. I'm like, Lord, just thank you for giving me innate understanding for like how to truly execute things and like operate in them. And friendship is one of those. Like, I tell people all the time, you know, most friendships are transactional, and we don't even realize it, right?
Really?
Like, it's, I'm willing to go to this extent because they've shown me they're willing to, right? Or something, you know, or some variation of it. But like, for me, I tell all my friends that I'm like, these are my friends, bro.
Yeah.
They cannot do jack crap for me, bro. Like, nothing for until the day I die. But what I fell in love with was their heart, right? Like, that's what I came to love. And so it's not about what I can receive from them. Now, if they choose to pour into me, I'm you know, I'm blessed and I appreciate it. But the way that I've come to understand, right, loving the people I care about is it's always expression. Is how can I be there, right? Oh, you didn't call me when you was going through this hard time. Right. I should come over there and punch you in the forehead. You know what I mean?
Like I was here.
Yeah, right. Like, because like, that's just how I've always been postured. And I'm always thankful for it, and I appreciate. Like, I have one friend. I think we talk like twice a year, bro.
Really? Listen, I have a couple of those twice a year friends, but it'd be great though.
Exactly, because that's like the intimacy aspect of it, where I always say like there's two elements of intimacy, and you've got proximity and frequency.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, and that proximity can look. There's like two variations of it, because it could be physical proximity, right, or just the depth of conversation, right? Like, how close am I letting you in to like the deepest parts of myself? And so with that, you know, you can establish intimacy and amidst many types of circumstances. You know what I mean?
Super shallow, but y'all all around each other all the time.
Right, and so you have that intimacy, right? But now, will you guys be as close, just kind of like spiritually? Maybe not, but I promise you, when that person is, you know, gone, you're like, you feel it, right? Yeah. Because that intimacy is no longer there. And so, like, back to my friend who I only talk to like twice a year, bro. Those conversations, we be swan dive, you know, like, and we hit there, right? Yeah, and going deep, and it's just like, whoa, right? And if somebody like walked up, they would think that we talk every day. And in all actuality, it's just like, no, we don't have the frequency, but like the proximity has never been removed, right? Like, we're always gonna go deep. And so with my friendships, like, I treat my friendships like that. And so for me, I'm like, man, the only difference between my friendships and, you know, when my marriage comes around is it's really just gonna be that covenant, right? And in me being submitted, because like, to my friends, I love them, but you know, there's that lateral, there's more so lateral respects.
Like that,
and so because, right, I love you, and because I'm trusting that you love me, we have, right, like, there's a we pour into each other, right? And so I'm postured to receive. But, you know, if you were like, hey, bro, you not going out tonight, I might be like,
why not? Why can't I go out tonight? You ain't can't tell
like
me what
I'm
to
like,
do,
you know,
Christian.
I'm gonna get ice cream, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not even going to the club. Like, you know, like,
you know me.
but like if I think about it, like, okay, if my wife was like, you know, babe, like, you not getting ice cream tonight, I'm like, but like.